out to reorganize and reconfigure Islamic societies all over the world so that Islamic societies resemble the West, where you have all of the cultural diseases that have destroyed us. But at the same time, Sanders and the people on the left, he's trying to distance himself from the right wingers. In America, the right wingers, they leave the heads, the decapitated heads of pigs at mosques. They assault Islamic women in public, come right up and punch them in the face. They shoot guns into mosques. They throw rock through the windows of homes of Islamic homes. Mm-hmm. So Sanders is trying to show that he's different in that regard, that his is a party of tolerance and a party of inclusion and a party of acceptance. But as you correctly pointed out, Sanders has never voted against any monetary appropriations to Israel. Money that has been used to equip the largest terrorist organization in the world, meaning the IF, to go into murder and people in Gaza. And so, he speaks with a forked tongue. He says one thing, but then he does something else. And in that regard, he's no different than the right-wingers. At least with the right-wingers, you have to give them a certain amount of credit for being consistent. They say, we don't like Islam. And to prove it, we're going to initiate wars against Muslim countries. Whereas the left-wingers say, oh, we love the Muslims, but we're going to flood their countries with all of these things that have destroyed the West, and we're going to continue giving Israel $4 billion a year, whatever the official tally is. And also, too, we have to keep in mind the practical aspect of this, which is that, Muslims in America represent about 10 million people. And many of them are very affluent. They make good money. And so just like any other minority group that the Democrats generally will pander to, they will pander to them, and also in order to keep them in line. We have Islamic organizations in the United States, such as CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. And I get their updates all the time, various positions they take. And, you have these Islamic organizations such as CARE who are advocating, regime change in Syria. And they advocated regime change in Libya. And so, by maintaining this false friendship that Sanders and people like him
thank you so very much.
Try to maintain between their corner and the Islamic community in America, they're able to remote control these various groups into adopting certain positions that overall are advantageous to the entire American system. As I said, the situation with CARE was just one of them, but these people, they simply don't get it. And of course, what they would really like to do is to use this to effect against Iran itself, because when it comes time for them to begin their screeching and hollering that we have to liberate the poor people of Iran from the Ayatollahs and from all of the rest of that, then you can be rest assured that all of these Islamic groups in America, that they will be adopting that line and calling for regime change in Iran and all of the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And Mihal, please.
A Muslim in America hasn't got a lot of choice when it comes to voting. It's either the rabid Islamophobes or the moderate, soft Islamophobes. And basically, Bernie Sanders, as we know, supports Israel and holds a passport from there as well, as do many in Congress and the Senate. Basically, he's trying to, because he won't support Palestine, he's unlikely to get many of the 10 million that Mark referred to So basically, this is a charm offensive, and basically Obama did the same before he invaded Libya and armed Wahhabists in Syria, and that's another thing. See, in the Western regime change agenda against Syria, basically they exploited any civilian deaths, and without even investigating, was it from March the 14th? Was it from the Wahhabists? Basically, it was all blamed on Assad. Assad and al-Baath were killing Muslims, if you believe the Western media, but it didn't mention the Muslims who were being obliterated by the Wahhabists that they had on. Not a word said about them. And this gets me on to another thing. You may have seen recently on the Second Amendment that Obama wants reform. Basically, despite the fact that SWAT teams in America can still go and grenade babies in Georgia, without the people being able to defend themselves. But yeah, that same administration now wants to crack down on this Second Amendment rights, and yet he left an empty chair in Congress, and then the fake tears. I could have smashed his face in with the fake tears. Where were those tears for the children of Palestine? Where were those tears for the children of Yemen? Where were those tears for the children of Syria? Where were those tears for the children of Kurdistan? Where were those tears for the children of Iraq? And for a pro-choice zealot, he got fairly upset over a few kids being shot. Where were his tears for the American children that basically he allowed his corporate donor, that's another one, Cecile Richards, another corporate donor, and basically to keep her happy. No fake tears there, but yet we were meant to believe his fake tears for that. Sorry, I cannot accept that excrement. I really couldn't. And basically, Sanders wanted to pander to Muslims, especially, as Mark referred to. Do you remember the siege, Mark, on the mosque by the Tea Partiers?
No.
Yes.
Where was that?
The big one was the mosque in New York, when they were all pulling their hair out and going crazy about that. This was several years ago. You're talking about that in New York City?
No, I was talking about the recent one with the militiamen, the camouflage and the assault rifles outside.
Yes, down in Arizona.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the mosque invited one of the protesters inside. By the end of it, he was saying, "I'm not protesting anymore."
Mm-hmm.
He purchased the Quran and well, I would say convert, revert. It's the same thing. He devoted himself to God and he became a Muslim, basically, after being a protest. But basically, in the Western media, especially America, Muslim is conflated with Wahhabist. Doesn't matter if you're Sunni, Shia, or even a Sufist, is
Exactly.
a Wahhabist. And this is a distinction they don't dare make, that Wahhabism is different from Islam. And basically, they don't say Sunni or Shia. They rarely say Sunni or Shia country. It's an Islamic country. So basically, in the main, when it comes to the reporting on Iran, it's an Islamic republic, and basically they neglect to mention, by the way, is full of Aryans, and basically European culture, whether it be in Europe or in colonies around the world, basically have a regard for Aryan culture. They omit that, but they say Islamic. So you have this ridiculous idea of there are brainwashed people in the West that think the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is a Wahhabist, when they're two different ends of the spectrum. So basically, the Iranian leaders conflated with the king of Saudi Arabia, even though